Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard. And we have, plenty to talk about with the Ducks as things have kind of gone south for the winter with Anaheim. But yeah, we're going to talk about these recent games with the Ducks. A lot of injuries that have gone on, some roster moves. We got Roger McQueen down in San Diego. We can kind of mention him a little bit and a little bit of league news, but yeah, this is going to be a different show. Hopefully, not all gloom and doom, but we're going to be very, very critical on the show. So buckle up your seatbelts and get ready for this one. But before we start, Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. I'm glad to talk to you again. It's been a while. It seems like it's been a while, but holy crap. The Ducks have been going, like you said, down south. It's been a wild ride, and like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, exactly. This team, man, we'll just dive into it, man, because yeah, we haven't talked for a while. Not much going on in personal life, just work and all that kind of stuff. But last
My
time
heart's
when
beating like faster, Mike. Like my heart's like it almost stopped with the Ducks, the way they've been playing. Like, holy crap!
yeah, it's been crazy because, on the last show, we had talked about the Ducks. They'd come out of the Olympic break. They were like finding ways to win. They were coming from behind. They were still undefeated when leading after three periods, which that's not the case anymore. But there were still good vibes. We were like, hey, they're like on the road to make the playoffs. They're battling it out for first place. Everything just felt pretty good, and we were like, yeah, 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 everything's good, everything's good. We're gonna be fine. And then, well, they hit this like 6 game losing streak at like the worst time, and now they've gone from a team that could find ways to win as now a team that's finding ways to lose, Eddie. And that's kind of the best way I can sum it up right now. They were before were, either having a lead in the third and winning, coming from behind, winning, and now these guys like they can't score. They're giving up like almost 5 goals a game, and it's just like the wheels have completely fallen off the car, Eddie.
Oh yeah, and not to mention, Mike, the goaltending has been atrocious. Like Das can't stop a puck. Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like with those stall, he's been kind of average. It seems like there's been beach balls being shot in behind him, right? Those memes that they
Yep,
make.
right.
And I get the strategy with Coach Q. I understand that he wanted to rest players. He put Huso in there. And I don't necessarily think that that is really an issue. I mean, I get it, especially in some of the back-to-back scenarios they've had recently. You got to switch it up anyway. So I don't think that's the issue. But with Dostal, it just seems like early in the games, he's just been prone to giving up at least one goal here or there. And you're like, what are you doing? The last couple ones, he was a little bit better in the starts, but then later on, the second period's caught up to him. So that's a lot of it. We talked about where they were at last time they were winning, and I guess kind of start out with this last road trip is where I kind of look at where the wheels kind of fell off, right? They had beat the Canucks 5-3. They were tied after two. They scored all these goals in the third, ended up winning. You got McTavish finally got on the board. He finally got going. So they won that one. They had won three in a row. Then they beat the Flames. The Flames was a really wild one. You had Granlund getting that hat trick. The Ducks pulled that one out. You're like, hey, man, they can win in any situation, right? The 4 wins in a row look great. And where I point to where some of the stuff started going downhill was the game against the Oilers. They come in against them. They had, I can't remember how many points, but they were like 4 or 5 points ahead of the Oilers at that time. And they blow it. They lose that game. They get down 3-0 early in the third. And, the Ducks did fight back, but they ended up losing that game. You also had Gudas got hurt in the game against the Flames. he decides to come in and play that Toronto game, which I'll stop on that one because we're gonna go a lot on the Toronto game because
Yep.
we got a lot to talk about in that Toronto game. So we'll talk about that. But that's where I felt like the problem started, Eddie, is I feel like, they got lucky against the Flames and they pulled it out. They had a 4-game winning streak. That's where we were kind of up on our like, riding still up. We're in first place. The Oilers trying to catch us. And then to me, losing to the Oilers is where this all started. It's where the losing streak started, of course, and they went on and lost, 6 in a row, including this game. But ever since then, it's like they lost their mojo. They lost in overtime to Toronto. Sharks got those couple goals and lost, and then we'll talk about the other games. The last three have been really horrible. But for me, that's where I pin that this all started is that game against Edmonton. I feel like, whatever happens here and we look back after this next, a week or so and the games are closed out, I feel like that game and then of course Toronto Sharks, like those 3 games, man, like if they could have gotten 5 or 6 points out of those 3 games, how much different things would look right now, Eddie.
Exactly. Perfect word, mojo. I was about to say that too, Mike. Before you mentioned that, the whole mojo just I don't know what's going on with the Ducks, and they lost it. What you said, mojo, but damn, they after that game, they're just done. Like they gave up. They're man, I don't even know what's the word, Mike. They just they surrendered. I guess the right word to say too. And it's sad to see, but I mean, this team with Coach Q, they can do a way better job, but they're not, and it just sucks.
Yeah, I mean the game against the Oilers, it's where it started. They lost that game. Gudas was out. Gudas is not 100%. And we can debate this one too, because this is probably a hot topic for some of you. I know there's a lot of people that are really not happy with Gudas, but Gudas decides he twists his ankle right in the game against the Flames. He doesn't play against the Oilers. He decides, hey, I'm going to play in this game against Toronto, and I just want to squash all this stuff that happened with Matthews. So that part of it, I get. You're not 100%, you're going to do that. So this Toronto game is nuts. In the beginning, him and Domi, they drop the gloves and they go at it. And I don't know how you feel about this, but different people had things in this fight because Gudas doesn't really fight. He just kind of takes the punches, and you think it's going to be over. I kind of get why he did what he did, also knowing that he's not 100%. But the problem is it didn't stop there. And Toronto kept going after pretty much everybody on the team, it seemed like. But in the second period, you had Pizzetta that basically sat on Gudas like he was a dining room chair. And the refs pulled him off. He tried to go after Gudas again. He said some stuff to the refs. Pizzetta gets booted out of the game. Good. Then you had McCabe goes after Gudas after the whistle later in the second period. You had Domi fighting Gudas in the beginning. He fights Minchikov. After that's done, he decides to throw more punches at Minchikov after the whistle. He gets booted out of the game. So, I know on the show, you and I are pretty critical of the refs. I actually give the refs a lot of credit in this game because they tried to stop this stuff right away. After that second incident with Domi fighting and not stopping, they booted him. They got Pizzetta out of there, booted him. McCabe, they didn't boot him, but they gave him a 10-minute misconduct. So they really tried to do all that. And I actually felt that this worked in the Ducks' favor. Toronto was just trying to play physical and go after anybody, and the Ducks were up 3-1 after 2 periods. So I felt good. I thought, oh man, like they want to go after everybody on the Ducks team. Fine, like let them do their stupid shenanigans and we'll win this game. I don't know what happened in the locker room at the end of the second period, but they came out and they didn't do any of that. I mean, I know Domi's already gone out of the game, Pizzetta's gone out of the game, McCabe's still in timeout. So they decide to start scoring goals. And then they score all these goals, and then they're ahead 4-3. You had Leo that had to score a late goal to send it to overtime. And then, of course, Tavares scores in the final rush in the final seconds of overtime to give them the 2 points. But I don't know. Like, what did you think? Do you think Gudas should have stayed out of this game? Do you think that was a mistake? like, what do you take away from this Toronto game? I mean, obviously, this hurt the team too. So they lost that game against the Oilers, and mind you, the Oilers then went on started winning a bunch of games after that. And then also in this Toronto game, players got hurt because Gudas has been out. He hasn't been playing, which we already knew he was hurt. But Cutter and Minty got hurt in this game, and they haven't played. Well, Minty did come back in this last game against Nashville, which we'll get to that game, which didn't really help. But anyways, what did you think about this Toronto game? There's just so much going on in this game, and so much ended up going wrong for the Ducks at the end of the night.
Yes, so much going on, Mike. I'm glad you brought this up. I think Gudas as a captain, he fucked up. And I'll throw my F bomb right here. Like he effed up. Um, yeah, I get it. He has to answer the bell, but dude, time and place. You were hurt, and you announced that you were injured, but you're gonna play this game while you're injured and announce that you're injured and play the game. Like it's just so stupid. Like for what reason? I get it. You screwed up. You apologize. You text Matthews. You made that known. Like, what's the whole point of doing this game when you're injured? I mean, you just brought your team down. This just shows that you're not captain material for the Ducks. And I love Gudas and I respect him a hell of a lot. But this decision was not a good look on your part as a captain. So, man,
Yeah, I mean, I understand. We've talked about the code, we've talked about honor and all that stuff, and I get it, answering the bell, but you knew you weren't 100%. The Ducks are fighting for a playoff spot. I mean, this is something that maybe goes away in the offseason, maybe not. Maybe it gets addressed in the first game against Toronto next season, whatever. But I wonder what Toronto would have done if Gudas wasn't in. I wonder if it would have mattered at all. Would they have still gone and hit people and done stuff? Because Domi was all over the place, Pizzetta was all over the place, McCabe was all over the place. They were just running around like pinballs, just hitting all the freaking players that they
well,
could.
Pizzetta was in there, Mike, just for that one reason, just to hit people and be a piece of shit, just like he was. Like, and he's nothing. Like, he's nobody. Mike, you and I could probably make the NHL before Pizzetta can actually get a chance. So fuck him. I'm sorry. I said the F bomb again, but that's what he
No,
is.
no, I hear you. Yeah, they definitely went with the goon lineup for sure against the Ducks. So that's why I really wonder what. I mean, I mean, it's hindsight now, seeing what would have happened. I felt like after the two periods, it was okay, and I thought, okay, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna win this game, and I felt like they were just being dumb, trying to take runs at players and attack players, and it was really
Yep.
backfiring. But then I don't know what they did. They turned it on the third period, started scoring all these goals, and obviously we ended up losing overtime. And then what's worse about that is you have your leading scorer hurt, he's out, and then you have Minty who's out, and then of course Gudas is out too. So it's like what are we what's going on here? Like I don't know. I just felt like this game compounded that and added more problems, and it just didn't.
Yep.
It's made it worse. So because now the Ducks go on these other games and you're without those three guys. And another thing I did want to mention that I don't think these guys get a lot of love too, but the Ducks have been without Jansen Harkins and Ross Johnston. Both those guys,
Yep.
Coach Hughes talked about in interviews. He's alluded to them, maybe not necessarily specifically said their names, but you have Jansen Harkins who wins faceoffs, is pretty sound defensively. You have Johnson that throws around his body. He's got a career high 11 assists this season. He's actually been making some scoring plays too from the bottom six, which is a bonus. And you got those guys are out. Johnston, they said it was going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. It's been about 3 weeks now. Harkins has hurt his hand. He had surgery. He's done for the season. So you're missing those guys as well. So that's part of this equation too, is that you lost like some key games here, right? The key game against the Oilers, I really felt they should have won. They lost to Toronto having a lead in the third period to start, which is the first time, and then they did that again against the Sharks. The Sharks they were up 2-1 to start the third, ended up being up 3-2 with less than 2 minutes to go, and they lose that game. Celebrini goes off. in the third period, getting 2 assists and a goal. Nathan Gaucher comes out and does his debut. I mean, he looked fine in the couple games he played for the Ducks,
He looked
but
good.
yeah, I mean, he didn't score or get any points, but solid bottom six guy. He looked decent. I really, really thought that this game the Ducks were going to win. It was be big, and I think these 3 games to me were really the backbreakers of what's going on with the Ducks right now because the Sharks and the Kings are now in the mix. I mean, if you haven't been paying attention, the Ducks are now in third place. They were in first, and they're only. What's funny about this, or not funny, the half glass full, whatever, however you want to look at this, because I know everyone's looking at this all kinds of different ways, but the Ducks have gone 0-5-1 in these last 6 games, but yet they're only a point behind Vegas and Edmonton. So I mean, they're not completely out of it. It's not all gloom and doom. They're still in it. I don't like this losing streak, but you had these injuries. Uh, you had 2 out of 3 of these games you probably should have won, right? You should have beat Toronto. You should have beat the Sharks. Maybe not the Oilers the way that game, like I said, they got down early in the third, 3-0. But then it goes from bad to worse. You get blown out by the Blues 6-2. You get, you lose 5-3 with the Flames. You're trying to get in there, but you're losing at the beginning of the period, and you pull within a couple goals, but then you can't pull that out, and you end up losing that one as well. And then you just get just completely blown out by Nashville, and you lose 5-0. I mean, it's just frustrating. I feel like you lost those 3 games already, but then the last 3 have been terrible, and I feel like the Ducks are just snowballing. And part of this, Eddie, is just the defense. The defense for the Ducks has been, we've talked about this throughout the season too. This isn't a new thing. The Ducks defense has been shaky all season, but in these 6 losses, they've given up 29 goals against. Like, that's a huge problem in this losing streak, Eddie. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? You know?
Mike, there's no fight in this team. Like they just gave up. And it's really frustrating to see this, but that's the truth. They just gave up. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to fight for the playoff spot? Do you want to fight to be like number one, or do you want to just be bottom bitches? I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, and I mean, the other part that's tough about this too is the power play has completely disappeared. You brought in Carlson,
What power
and
play?
yeah, you know what I joke? I joke. I call it the powerless play. That's what I call it. It's the powerless play. It's 2 for 32. I mean, like what in those last 32 times, and you brought in Carlson. He got a goal during this stretch for the Ducks. He was great in a couple games, getting a whole bunch of assists. But the Ducks defense doesn't exist. The power play doesn't exist. What are we doing here? And like you mentioned, Dostal has kind of looked a little ordinary lately. He used to look like elite, and now he's not. It's just I hate to say it, but everything is going wrong for the Ducks right now. They're also not scoring goals. I mean,
Yep.
that's the problem. All on top of this, I mean, you after that Sharks game, you got 2 goals against the Blues. You got 3 goals against the Flames, but a couple of those were late in the third. And then you got shut out by Nashville. And the worst part about Nashville, there's a lot wrong in this Nashville game. Nashville
Oh,
played LA the night before, and you got beat by Nashville's backup goalie. And it's frustrating because the Ducks did have a good first period. They really outshot the Predators, but again, they couldn't score in the power play. They got scored on the second period. They had a 5-on-3 power play that ended up becoming a 5-on-4, and then Nashville got their third goal, which was shorthanded there, and then the game was pretty much done at that point. So it's rough. So the thing is, how do you take this, Eddie? Because I put this down on our little talking point as is this a time to panic, right? And I've seen different people post different things. I've seen some people say, hey, the Ducks, they're ahead of schedule. This is a transition year. Um, we've got over 40 wins. We're still fighting for the playoffs. We're still in there, not out of it yet, though we could be. So you kind of have that. So some people are looking more like glass half full. Then you got other people that are like, well, time out. Like, yeah, the Ducks have done better. They have exceeded expectations, and we should keep exceeding expectations. Why, like, keep the bar low where we had at the beginning of the season? So I'm kind of in the middle on that. Like, yes, I agree. I think the Ducks have gone forward. I do think our expectations did get higher, especially after the Olympic break. And kind of the way that I sum up this season as of now, and we still got a little time, very little, but I feel like the Ducks did take a step forward this season. We can debate if it was a baby step, a giant leap for duck kind, or whatever we want to talk about, right? We can say it, but they have been better than last year. However we want to measure that. But the thing is they've taken a step forward, but now they've tripped and fallen on their face at like the worst time ever. The good news is they do have a few games left. They could still win the division, or they could be second, third, wild card, or not even be. I mean, they could, it's going to be a photo finish in the Pacific Division. That's what it's going to be. But what is your overall feeling, Eddie? Because I see a lot of gloom and doom on social media. A lot of just like we're screwed. We're going to lose all the games. We're not going to make the playoffs. I saw in the Ducks posted that they were selling playoff tickets. I felt bad for the Ducks admin. They were literally getting destroyed on X. People are like, "Why are you posting the playoffs?" And remember the quote of the Colts coach back in the day, and he's like, "Playoffs?" with a question mark. And people are just blowing up, and I feel bad because the social media people for the Ducks are good people, and they're just posting the stuff they posted.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
already put down my money for the first round, by the way, because I renewed my tickets. I'm all in. But how what are like we got a handful of games left to go. What is your thought? Are you like, hey, the glass is half full, we've exceeded expectation, we'll just see what happens? Or are you like, hey man, that's cool, but now we're like sucking hard and like let's try to fix this in the final weeks of the season.
I'm all in. I think Ducks will make a push. I think that they'll snap whatever they're going through, and they'll go through that. I don't know. I'm optimistic, Mike. So hopefully, hopefully, my demeanor and my whole thing is right. But it just, yeah, it's crazy how much they digressed from what we talked about. It's just, it's nuts. But I'm still all in for the team, and hopefully they can turn it around and win some games and get in the playoffs. I mean, they're still in the playoff position. That's cool. I get that, but hopefully they can just muster up something and go and push.
Yeah, I mean you've got some big games left, right? The big one, of course, against San Jose. You got to win this game. They're absolute must-win game. You have to beat San Jose. Maybe not necessarily in regulation because they're still behind the Kings, but you want to win that one in regulation. You want to beat them. Then
Yeah.
you're gonna have to face Vancouver. You should beat them. Vancouver's had a horrible year, but I mean, then again, you lost to Calgary, so I mean, hey, hello. So you should beat them. You've got your favorite team, Minnesota, that we have to play, which they may be resting players because they already made the playoffs. They're not going to pass your Avs. No, your Avs are up there. Minnesota's not going to get up to them, so they may rest some players. So, there's 3 games here. I think, and then of course they finish with Nashville again. So, yeah, they got to win 2 or 3 of these games. I feel the Kings have a soft schedule coming up. You've got Edmonton, Vegas. Some of these teams are playing each other too in this next final 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it is exactly. But yeah, to me, you got to beat San Jose. And another problem that the Ducks have had too this season is stopping star players on other teams. And this was the problem
Yep.
against the last time they played San Jose. This was the problem. They kept Celebrini at bay for the first 2 periods, and then he went off in the third period. And we've seen this. We've seen other certain players on other teams go off. So that's another issue I've seen with this team. Another part, which I don't know where this is going, but in Nashville, well, it was actually in Anaheim this game, but against Nashville, the Ducks went with a 10-8 lineup. So yeah, 10-8 lineup. Okay, so we've seen the 11-7. That's been out there a bunch of times, and you've seen how that works. So you had eight defensemen ready to go. Gudas still out, though it looks like he's getting close to being back. So you decide to put Zellweger and Moore with Washi on the fourth line for the forwards, and you don't play Vetrano. So going into that Nashville game, when I saw that, I was like, WTF? And I posted that little funny meme about like, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Like, what are we doing here, right? And I had mixed feelings about it because at first I was like, this is fucking crazy. And then I thought, man, this is so crazy. I just hope that it works and we somehow win this game. And obviously that's not what happened. So, I hope they don't go with this 10-8 strategy. I think part of the problem is you did bring up Tyson Hines, who I do want to mention. I think Tyson Hines has been fantastic. I thought he was great.
Yep.
His first game, he played almost 23 minutes, had 10 shot attempts, four shots on goal. This game against Nashville, I mean, it is what it is, but I think he's been great. I think he's been solid. But you've got poor Ian Moore, who's been playing right defense, left defense, and forward. So I
Playing
think,
everything.
yeah, and I love the dude. Like I mean, that's amazing. He has filled in spectacularly. He's had a couple rough ones. I think him playing on the left side isn't quite working as well as the right side. So I think you got to figure that out. If you're going to put more on the fourth line forward for now, because you got Johnston, Harkins, and Cutter out, I'm okay with that. Zellweger forward, I don't know. I mean, it didn't work out. If you're gonna just put Zellweger there and then more back down, with the defense, okay, maybe. But this whole 10-8 thing, this is like rarely used. I was trying to look this up and find out where in the history of the NHL this has been used, and I don't know if any of you know. You can go look it up and find out. It's happened before, but very very rare, right? We've seen the 11-7 thing, of course, but I just thought that was odd. Like I felt like Coach Q was just really like just going for whatever in this game against Nashville. And in the first period, it looked good. The Ducks were totally out shooting the Predators. Couldn't score on the power play. You guys know about that story. So it didn't work out. But then it fell apart in the second period and fell apart the rest of the game. So I want to see what they're going to do the rest of the way, with this. I don't think taking Vetrano out and then putting two defensemen on the fourth line like that, it's gonna work, Eddie. I think you got to throw Frank the Tank back in there, and just if you're gonna go a seven, I get it because you're missing the other guys, but that's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know what you think about the lineup. Is any other like changes that you would make? Obviously, we did get Minchkov back, but pending getting Cutter and Gudas back, like what are your thoughts? Would you roll with the 11-7 lineup? Or would you get crazy and try and go 10-8 again?
No, I hate that lineup. And you know damn well I hate that lineup. Mike, I'm with you. This 11-7 lineup, I hate it. So I'm all with you on just rolling the normal lineup. Like Coach Q, like I respect him a lot, but the decisions that he's made has been questionable, and I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I get it. You're like you're down personnel. You're trying to figure stuff out. And when I saw that posted, the Ducks they post their lineups right before the game starts. I was like, "The fuck? Like what? Like what are we doing here? Like no, right? You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Like we're gonna try and roll with this." So we're gonna have to see what the Ducks do. They've also, it's hard to predict the lineups as we go from game to game because Terry's been kind of having these maintenance days. Kreider actually just had a maintenance day, so you see these practice lineups that come out and they're not always 100%. Gudas has been back practicing too, by the way, which is good. But Cutter's not been out there. And it sounds like Cutter they're trying to get maybe for that game against Vancouver. So that's another issue. So at what point you got these handful of games left to go? You got guys that aren't 100%. At what point do you put these guys in? You put Gudas in against Toronto. We already talked about that. Probably shouldn't have done it. He wasn't 100%.
Nope.
But now you've got these four big games left. Do you tell Gudas and Cutter like, I mean, missing Cutter's huge. 38 goals in the season. That's your
Yep.
leading goal scorer.
Yep.
I mean, that's a huge loss on the offense. Huge loss. Huge loss because Vetrano and McTavish, they haven't been really cutting it. I know McTavish got another goal recently, thank God, but overall he's had a down season. And Vetrano, sadly, Frank has been in the tank. Like he's not really Frank the Tank this season, which is frustrating to see both those guys because those guys have had good seasons before. So as a coach, how do you feel? Would you like try to talk like if Cutter and Gudas could obviously play because if he played against Toronto, he could play. Cutter, I don't know. We don't know the extent of the injury. They always keep that secret and stuff. But if Cutter came to you today and said he could play or Gudas could play, would you put him in?
No, I would not. Hell no.
Really?
Um, just leave them out. No. If they're not ready, d- why rush them? That's my question, Mike. Like, why would you rush them if they're not ready?
But what if they told you were ready? What they said, I'm ready. I'm Cutter Gauthier. I'm talking to you, you're Coach Q, and I say I'm ready. I'm not 100%, but I could play. I'm ready. What would you
Okay,
do?
if I told you I'm ready, Mike,
Yeah.
would you believe me? Hell no, you wouldn't. No, you'd be like, no, 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 Gonzo. You just step up and just relax. No, because you know damn well if I told you I was ready, I'm probably not ready, and I want to go in and do things that I can't accomplish at the time I can, right?
No, yeah, it's a good point. And by the way, if Eddie's voice is a little off, which I think he's fine, he's a little under the weather. The Ducks have literally made him sick, and he's powering through this podcast. He's powering through this podcast because the Ducks have
Yeah.
literally made him sick. I'm just letting you know. But powering through a podcast is a lot different than powering through a 60-minute game. And no, I got you. I feel you. I just was curious your thoughts. But no, I get you. Like with Gudas, I'm kind of like, man, we got plenty of defensemen right now. I would just have him sit out. Like to me, it's fine. Obviously, his ankle's not 100%. There's like rumors of other things, and I'm not going to throw those things out there because I don't want to be rumor mill. But let's just leave it at he's not 100%. Good is fine. Cutter, I really wish that they could get him back, but he's not even practicing, and that concerns me. And this goes back to the Toronto game. Toronto game. If the Ducks don't make the playoffs, the Toronto game might be the reason why, because Gudas went in there, did the honor thing and the code thing like we talked about. And I think if that first fight with Domi was done and over and that was the end of it, I think it would have been okay. But of course
What
that
fight,
what
Mike?
I I know. I know. I hate to say it, but Gudas was just dancing, taking punches. Like, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
he didn't fight at all. Trust me. I've been
Yeah.
in numerous fights. Like, that was not a fight at all.
Yeah, so you had that. He's not 100%, and then Cutter and Minty both get hurt. And then Cutter's been out since then, and Minty just finally came back. So I mean, that's what kills me. And I don't want to make excuses. I'm not that guy that's like, hey, we're losing because of this, this. I'm just trying to throw everything at it and give it you the whole perspective. And we've seen it. We've talked about it. The biggest things that yes, injuries have been part of the problem. The defense has been shaky, which the defense has been shaky all season. It's just been
Yep.
really terrible during this streak. The power play's been up and down, and it's definitely down right now. And that's a huge problem too. I mean, the Ducks have had chances in these games to take opportunities to go ahead. Like, I mean, like Nashville, they could have scored a couple of these goals, gone ahead. Even, you go back to that Toronto game, with all the nonsense that happened in the beginning. The Ducks had a full 5-on-3 for 2 minutes to start that Toronto game, and they didn't score. And they did build up that 3-1 lead in that game. But man, these 5-on-3s, Like you got to score. And I know the one against Nashville and this last one was an abbreviated one, but dude, you don't score on the 5-3. You go 5-4, and then you give up a shorthanded goal. Like what are we doing? The other part of this I'll talk about too, we haven't really gone to, is the stick handling turnovers. This has been another issue, and we've seen this. We've seen this actually. I hate to say it because I love the dude. Seneca's been great offensively, killing it in the rookies going for the Calder, but we've seen him mess up with the puck. We've seen him turn over the puck, do a little bit of crazy stuff. Sometimes in overtime, we saw that in a couple of these games where you're playing 3-on-3 and you're trying to do wazoo stuff in overtime, and it's like, bro, that's not the time or place, man, because you turn over the puck or try some trick shit in overtime, it's a 3-on-2 or 2-on-1 the other way, like automatically in overtime, and that did bite him a couple times recently. So that's another part of this equation that I've seen. Why are the Ducks having a hard time? It's been the turnovers and their passes. Their passes have not been great. They've been getting intercepted in the neutral zone. It's been a hard time getting out of their zone, and that's been another part of this equation. So to me, there's just a whole magnitude of things that are going on here, Eddie. You've got all that. You've got the power play, you've got turnovers, you've got the defense is falling apart, injuries are not helping. Dostal looks ordinary. I mean, I don't. I'm kind of gloom and dooming it right now. I hate to be that way, but the flip side is you can still win the division. I mean, the Ducks lost 6 games in a row. They went 0-5-1. They
Yeah.
picked up 1 point in 6 games. But and yeah, they need a little bit of help. You could still win the division. That's the crazy part. So, if you're a half glass full person, it's not over yet. And as Eddie said, they can do it. I mean, if they beat the Sharks in regulation and they beat Vancouver on Sunday, then they're in a pretty good spot to at least make the playoffs at that point. And then, like I said, if they get a rested team, Minnesota decides to rest some of their players, then maybe there's some things that can work out in their favor there, Eddie. I don't know any other thoughts you think about, just the way the Ducks have been playing and how this has been going as far as the outlook down the rest of the way of the season.
No, I think you covered it all, Mike. Um, the Ducks have been playing like shit, so I mean, I mean, like, what more can you say?
Yeah, I mean the only other option you have is you have Roger McQueen. He signed an ATO in San Diego. I know some people were wondering he would come up, but he hasn't signed his entry level contract. I don't see that happening. You have Tyson Hines up. I think that's where they're going to stick with that. I just don't see them doing too many more roster moves. Nathan Gauthier was sent down back to San Diego, so I'm hoping Cutter comes back soon and can fix that kind of situation with this team. But I don't want to say it's all gloom and doom. I mean, yes, a lot of things have gone wrong. They've had chances still to win some of these games. And I don't think it is necessarily the end of the world. I think that they can still pull off some of these. I think that they can do it. We had it's KC Holiday asked about the playoffs and if it's realistic expectations for us. And yeah, I think it still is a realistic expectation. I just don't know that they can win the division. I think that's kind of been the hard part. I don't know if I could really see them uh, doing that, but I think they can still squeak by. Like what is your overall prediction? We got a little bit of league news to do before we kind of wrap this up. But what is your overall prediction for the Ducks? Do you think that they'll finish, you know, in the playoffs, like where, or do you think they'll get knocked out? Like, kind of, what is your overall thought? I mean, we've kind of gone through these last games. We've talked about more of the bad, unfortunately, the good. But what do you think? What is your prediction? They either make it or they don't, and if they make it, where do you think they finish in the Pacific?
I have no idea, Mike. They're stressing me out a little bit. I think, who knows? I just hope they get back in that playoff spot. Like it's so surreal right now, like where they're going. But man, who knows?
For me, I think that they're going to make it. I think the Ducks will make the playoffs. I think they'll figure it out probably, I'm going to say either second or third place. I don't know that they'll win the division. I don't think that they'll fall to the wild card. I'm just going to go with second or third. Hope they pull it out and see what happens. But yeah, it's definitely nervous time. We put out a poll on X about the people's confidence in the team, and I want to say it was like 15% was confident. It was like 30-40% was like cautiously optimistic, and then the rest was like, yeah, we think we're screwed. It was not a happy poll. It was, it was like 80% was either cautiously optimistic or like, yeah, we're effed. Like it wasn't going good. And I get it with what's happened, but the Ducks still have a chance. They haven't fired their coach, but some other teams have fired their coach, Eddie. Oh, I did want to talk about this when we get closer, getting closer to the end of the show here. But what did you think? Like, Vegas is in the middle of this with Edmonton, and now we got the Kings, the Sharks, and they fire Bruce Cassidy at the end of March. And then they put in your boy Torts. Like
That's
what
crazy.
what do you think about Vegas and that move? What did you think about that?
Mike, that's nuts. Like I couldn't believe it. Like it's like, oh, why would Vegas do that? And it's just such a Vegas move to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to my buddy Ken over at Sinbin Vegas, and I asked him, and he just said, "quote effing idiots." That's all he said. I asked him. I said, Ken, like, what's going on with this move, dude? What's going on with your Knights? And he just said that they're fucking idiots. That's all he
F
said
an
back.
idiot. Yep.
Yeah, that's all he said. And I was like, oh shit, I thought he had more, he was gonna have something else to say. And like, no, he was pissed. Like, but they can still win the division. Edmund can still win the division. And then you also had your other guy, Patrick Waugh. He got booted from the Islanders like just a few days ago. What do you
Yeah.
make of that one?
Uh, Mike, I have no idea what to say about that. That was so crazy. How they did that. It's nuts. Like these coaching firings has been just unreal and surreal.
Yeah, and I don't know what the strategy is when you go into the end of the season and you both your teams are fighting it out for the playoffs. Like the Islanders are more fighting out for the wild card. Vegas is like us, kind of in the mix for everything. And you boot your coaches with like a couple of weeks to go, handful of games to go. I don't really know what the strategy is with that. I just don't know. I mean, you've had this coach for like 95% of the season, and now you're going to turn around and say, "Hey, I'm going to boot this guy. We're going to bring in this other coach." And like with both teams, I don't see any like long-term plan on these moves, Eddie.
No, same here. It's like F you and you're gone. It's so weird. It's so surreal. Like what's going on in their mind and the owner and GM's mind. It's like crazy.
Yeah, it just blows my mind because I mean, you look at you look at like the playoffs right now, right? And Vegas, the Ducks and Edmonton at the time of recording this all have, 4 games to go. Vegas, they fired the coach, a few games ago, but they're still in the mix. Vegas has actually won 4 in a row, whereas the Ducks have lost 6 in a row. You've got Utah that's probably going to get that first wild card. Nashville's right behind them, but Utah's got a game in hand. And then, of course, the Kings and the Sharks are there with games in hand on the Ducks. That's what makes it frustrating here now. It's like the Ducks are
Yep.
4 points on the Kings. Kings have a game in hand. Ducks are 6 points on the Sharks, but the Sharks have 2 games in hand. So that's why this next game against San Jose is huge for the Ducks, especially getting a regulation win. And then, Vegas fires the coach, but they're still in it. And what's also interesting about this Western Conference, the way it looks at it, is you got Colorado that's going to win the division, and Dallas and Minnesota, they're all clinched playoff spots in the Central Division. And you look at the Pacific, nobody's clinched. Like I can't remember a time that I've seen this where it's
Never.
just yeah. I mean, to me, I don't know if I've ever seen it where the top three seeds have already clinched in one division and then not in the others within a conference, right? So I don't know. It's going to be a photo finish in the Pacific Division. I do believe the Ducks make it in there. I think we'll have, as far as the bottom, how it shakes out, I don't know. I think Edmonton or Vegas, one of them probably wins the division. The loser probably will face the Ducks in 2 and 3. It's just what I'm thinking. And then I don't know who will squeak in at the end between you got San Jose, the Kings, Predators. You have to figure that out. And then, you go to the East. You've already got Tampa Bay, Buffalo, Montreal. They're all in it. You've got the Hurricanes that are in it. And then, like we talked about, booting out the Islanders coach, and the Islanders are like in the mix. The wild card in the East is extremely crazy right now. Extremely crazy. You've got the Flyers with 92 points. You've got the Senators with 92 points. Then you've got Columbus, Detroit. Sorry, Columbus is at 90. Then you got Detroit and the Islanders at 89, and then the Capitals at 87. So it's nuts in the East. You've got a lot of these teams that are going to try and battle it out. And again, firing the coach over there, I don't know what you're doing. You're in the middle of this with a whole bunch of teams, and you you only have these handful of games to go, and you boot Patrick Waugh. Like I just don't know the strategy, and I know the Islanders have lost several games in a row, but I don't know. It's crazy. And then, the Atlantic is kind of crazy because Tampa Bay, Buffalo, and the Canadians, they all have 102 points and they all have 4 games to go. So they're all going to make the playoffs, but I don't know how that one's going to shake out too. That's going to be it's going to be kind of a photo finish in the Atlantic as well. So, um, any other thoughts like kind of on the playoffs as we get to this or anything else around the league you want to talk about, Eddie?
No, I think you hit it off as much as you can. You hit like everything off. Um, yeah, I'm spent for words.
Well, the only other thing going on is fantasy hockey league. I got knocked out of both leagues, and I'm out of it. I know that you got knocked, I think, out of one, and you're still in it in the other one. Is that where you're at, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. So that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, you still have a chance in one of them, and I'm out of it in both. So and now at least I'm not stressing out about my lineups and who I'm putting in there for the fantasy hockey games and whatnot. But yeah, we ended up wrapping that up. Um, and then yeah, I mean, we're just gonna have to see what happens. I mean, we will do another show at the end of the season. Well, I don't know what we're gonna do actually. The way that the Ducks are playing right now, I don't know if we're gonna do a show after the end of the regular season to well, yeah, we will do a show, but it's going to be one of two options. It's either going to be us talking about the season and how it went, or it's going to be us talking about the season and previewing a playoff matchup. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And I don't like to scoreboard watch or who do I want to play kind of a game, but I think, like I said, I think the Ducks can get in there and squeeze it out. On the last show, we were really like optimistic. I thought that they could get to the Western Conference Final, which would probably be against your other team, Colorado, unless somehow Dallas or Minnesota sneak in there. But now I'm kind of the opinion that the Ducks make it, and I think it's gonna be a dogfight, whoever they play. If they play Edmonton, they play Vegas. It's going to be a dogfight. If they somehow end up in first and playing one of these wild card teams, I think it's going to be a dogfight. I don't know that they can survive the first round. If they get Cutter back, then we'd kind of go from there. Maybe the Ducks could squeeze to the second round, and that's really what I'm looking at right now. Unless they can turn stuff around these last couple games, I don't know that they get past the second round, Eddie. That's kind of my prediction. If they make the playoffs, I think the farthest that they can get is the second round of the season. What do you think as far as their playoff run? How far do you think they can go if they make the playoffs?
Same here. I don't think they're gonna go past the first round. It's scary to say that, but I mean, stranger stranger things have happened. So, fingers crossed, and let's go from there.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you just gonna have to hold on to the seat of your pants and try to believe. I know there's a mixed group of people out there. Some people are glooming and dooming this, which I get. I try not to put out too many comments on X because whatever I put out there, it seems like it's a lot more negativity right now. I mean, I still believe in this team. I think that they have done better than what they were last year. I think the losing streak and this timing is crappy. I still think that the team is a work in progress. I think there's some stuff that we need to do in the off season. There's some moves. Oh, I will end with this. There's this crazy rumor, Eddie. I don't know if you saw it, but they're talking about Matthews leaving Toronto, and there were some rumors about him trying to go to California. So I'll leave you with that as our final thought. What do you think about that? Do you think could you see Matthews come to Anaheim?
Hell no. That's like a dream come true, but no, hell no. I mean, the whole the whole scenario is not gonna happen. So we can leave it to bet for that.
Yeah, that's been one that's been floated out there, and I saw that, and I thought, man, that's a crazy scenario. But there's definitely things for the Ducks to work on the off season. There's things that they're going to have to figure out, and we'll have a show on that, and we'll try and figure all that and sort it out when that comes. The cap stuff, right? We've talked about that. They've got to figure out with Leo Carlson, Cutter Gauthier. They got to figure out how much that's going to cost for them and what they're going to do. Also with their, other free agents that they're going to bring them back or not, and see all that as well. So yeah, I mean that's where we leave it. It's going to be a wild time, folks. The finish to the Pacific is going to be a photo finish, and we're going to have to see what's going to happen. I really think that this Pacific Division may come down to like the final day of the season. That last game with the Ducks in Nashville, it might be important to both teams, not just the Ducks. It may be important to Nashville too. And there's some of these other games, like I said, with some of the other teams are playing each other. So I think for the Ducks to move forward, uh, Coach Q, please don't play the 10-8 lineup ever again. Like that didn't work and didn't help us. Let's not do that. And let's try to fix the power play and fix the defense and work on those things. I think those are the biggest things. If they can play better defensively and at least get the power play a little bit more decent, maybe they can, turn some things around. Another part of that too is trying to score first a little bit. That hasn't always worked, but at least maybe score in the first period and go from there. The Ducks are just going to have to take it one game at a time, and then see what they can do. If they can get some good starts, which I feel like Nashville they did have a good start, and even Calgary, the Calgary game too. I felt like those two kind of mirrored each other in the beginning. I felt like the Ducks got off to good starts. They got more shots on goal. They just couldn't get the puck in there, and in the second periods, their team took over. So I think the biggest thing for this team is they're pressuring themselves too. They're trying to do too much with everything. And I think for them, that the way that they're going to have to go forward is they're going to have to try to get off to the good starts, score first, and see where we go from there. So that's what I'm looking at for this team. We'll see what happens. Stick with us. We'll stick with the team, and we'll be back to see what happens with the Ducks. And regardless how the season ends, thank you for the support, and let's go Ducks.